Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Pound and we are studying chapter 5.2 on respiratory and excretory systems from Purposeful Designs Life Science, and this is a brand new chapter. The first thing we're going to talk about from chapter 5.2 is section 521 on the respiratory system. So our objectives today will be to differentiate between two types of respiration, describe the path that air takes through the respiratory system, and list 5 diseases or disorders of the respiratory system and explain their causes. So the first thing we need to know is that the design of the human body reveals a creator with incredible abilities to design and balance intricate systems that provide people with life. We're going to be talking about now about how all of these systems are really interconnected and depend upon each other. And the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system are very interdependent, meaning they depend upon each other. The circulatory system carries blood to the lungs and cells for gas exchange. And the heart drives the circulatory system and depends on oxygen provided by the respiratory system. There are 2 types of respiration that we sometimes get confused. The first type is the process of breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide, just like this scuba diver in the background. You can see his bubbles. The second is cellular respiration, which we already talked about when we covered cells. And this is the process that occurs in each cell as it uses oxygen to break down biochemicals and release energy from them. And the thing is, you need the first type of respiration in humans to have the second type, because the whole purpose of the respiratory system is to get oxygen to the cells and the mitochondria for cellular respiration, and then to take the carbon dioxide and release it as a waste product. So in the respiratory system, air travels from the nose to the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchi, which are in the lungs, the alveoli, and then to the capillaries in the circulatory system. So here, this is the pharynx towards the back of the mouth and the nasal cavity, down to the larynx, the trachea, the bronchus, that is just singular for bronchi, and then there would be alveoli at the end of the bronchioles. The larynx is a structure that contains the vocal cords. So the picture in the background here is a picture of the vocal cords. The vocal cords are being pointed to, and different sounds are made by the opening and closing and tightening and releasing of the vocal cords. So they are located right here. The trachea is the tube that carries air to and from the lungs. So here is the trachea, and remember the epiglottis covers the trachea so that food goes down the esophagus and not the trachea. The bronchi are the branches of the trachea that extend into the lungs. So right here, those are the bronchi. The alveoli are a cluster of microscopic air sacs deep in the lungs. This is where the gas exchange with capillaries takes place. The blood releases carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen in the alveoli. The alveoli have capillaries around them for that diffusion to take place. There's also the diaphragm. This is a large flat muscle that lies underneath the lungs and helps move air into the lungs as it contracts. So a lot of times, say in music class, you're told to breathe from your diaphragm because that helps you to breathe deeply and using that muscle. So here is the diaphragm at the bottom of the lungs. When it contracts this way and flattens out, it creates an area of low pressure, so oxygen will go into the lungs. When it relaxes, it creates an area of higher pressure and carbon dioxide is forced out of the lungs. Now, some respiratory diseases and disorders. First, asthma is a respiratory disorder that is often caused by allergies, and maybe you have asthma. Asthma is pretty common, and you probably recognize the inhaler in the background that is used to treat asthma. Bronchitis is a condition caused by infection, smoking, or air pollution. This is where you get mucus in the lungs and you have to cough that up. Pneumonia is a disease of the lungs that results in fluid buildup in the alveoli. And so because of this fluid buildup, it is very difficult to breathe, and maybe you will need to be put on oxygen. Emphysema is a disease of the lungs that is caused by continual inflammation of the bronchi. It is often caused by smoking, and the lungs are just not as elastic. And so here we see smokers' lungs, and here over here we see regular healthy lungs. There's also lung cancer, and this is a lung disease usually caused by smoking. And here you can see a spot of lung cancer. It just appears as a white spot on the x-ray that's not, that is more prominent. So they usually spot lung cancer by x-raying the lungs, and people are trained to spot that. So our objectives today were to differentiate between two types of respiration, describe the path that air takes through the respiratory system, list 5 diseases or disorders of the respiratory system, and explain their causes. So don't forget your 5 questions, and keep watching this video to answer the questions at the end.